G'day guys and gal. Warhammer 40k lore is so convoluted and has so many angles, approaches, and potential what ifs that it's often fun to theorycraft about if someone took a left turn instead of a right turn. In 40k, those left or right turns carry a lot of weight. Entire worlds and trillions of people have been killed or spared because of these kind of choices, including the choice of choosing Horus for Warmaster. This choice seemingly doomed mankind and ruined everything. So what if someone else was chosen instead? What if Sanguinius was chosen as Warmaster? After all, Horus even thought Sangi should have been Warmaster instead of he. Would it have created a much better outcome, or would it have been even more devastating for the Imperium? Before we get started, I want to talk some science. Mainly the science behind the Natty Plus Ultimate Blood Sugar Management, with Natty Plus being a supplement company I founded recently with a philosophy of natural, effective, and safe. You guys responded really well when I did an unpacking of the Ultimate Test Booster and the Ultimate Liver Support, explaining each ingredient and the studies and results, so I thought let's talk about the blood sugar management, as it's actually the most effective supplement in the entire range, as well as the most widely applicable. In simple terms, your blood sugar levels alongside your insulin sensitivity is one of the main factors that control your energy levels, your ability to put on muscle, and your ability to lose fat. If you have chronically elevated blood sugar and low insulin sensitivity, thus making you pre-diabetic, which 40% of you watching now are, the Ultimate Blood Sugar Management is literally essential for keeping you healthy and preventing you from reaching type 2 diabetes, which is a really shit time. Berberine, the key ingredient in the stack, is an extremely well-researched and tested natural supplement that lowers blood sugar, improves insulin sensitivity, and improves your overall metabolic health. It's so effective that it is genuinely comparable to metformin, an anti-diabetic prescription medication. Studies show berberine can reduce blood sugar by 20 to 25%, improve insulin sensitivity by 30 to 40%, and even massively help with your cholesterol levels. Literally everyone should be on berberine. Then there is alpha-lipoic acid. ALA is a powerful antioxidant that again reduces your blood sugar levels and boosts your insulin sensitivity, whilst magnesium glycinate, although magnesium has many uses in the body, also acts to help regulate blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity. If you're a little bit confused about why high insulin sensitivity is important, insulin is what dictates if the food, namely carbs, you eat goes to fat or muscle. When you have low insulin sensitivity, more of it goes to fat. When you have high insulin sensitivity, more of it goes to muscle. If you're on a crash diet but still fat while you see other people smash a mountain of food and stay lean and jacked, it's most likely due to insulin sensitivity. So click the link below and use code Majorkill for 20% off. Today we'll go over what if Sanguinius became Warmaster instead of Horus. Let's get into it. For these what ifs, I try to keep them as close to the lore as possible. It would be kind of retarded if I was doing the what if, but then added in a scene randomly where Lorgar gets jailed for planet-wide molestation of every orphan on Terra. I'll save what if Lorgar was a pedophile for another video. So to set up the scene, the Triumph of Wolvenhour is up and running. The orcs have been slapped harder than Grand Maester Pycelle slapped that orphan. However, in this what if, the Emperor's decision making lands on a different Primarch to who he wants to be his Warmaster. He sees Horus's hidden but festering pride and understands that if given the title of Warmaster, he would risk Horus losing everything. In Sanguinius, he also sees darkness, but a darkness born from nobility and purity. So instead of Lupercal going to the Emperor to speak about his promotion, he instead invites Sanguinius. Sanguinius does not want this honor. He does not want to be elevated above his brothers, but he also cannot refuse a direct command from the Emperor. And that is what this is, a command. Now, since in canon Sanguinius did become Emperor of Imperium Secundus, and while he didn't want the title, he also took on the role and made it his own, so despite his misgivings, Sanguinius would give it his all. Now, Horus was a good candidate to be Warmaster, and many of the Primarchs accepted his ascension. However, Sanguinius was even more beloved, and many Primarchs believe he sat apart from the rest, in his own league. Horus actively said he wished Sanguinius had been given the title, so Horus definitely would have respected it, as would most of the others, other than the ones that were going to rage anyway. Angron would have hated it because he hates everything. Conrad would have been resentful, as he was always jealous that Sanguinius could see the future without losing his mind. But overall, the reception would be just as warm, if not warmer, than when Horus was chosen. Now, as I've said a few times, Sanguinius wasn't exactly a master genius and tactical mastermind. Sure, he would have the risen vibes to be Warmaster, but Sanguinius' idea of a 200 IQ play was to dive bomb at the enemy's most powerful warriors and strongest positions, kill them all, and then call it a day. And yeah, look, that tactic worked very well many times, but it doesn't really translate super well into large-scale war zones. In terms of raw tactical acumen, Horus was a better Warmaster. However, Sanguinius had an advantage. See, his ego was kept in check, and he didn't think he was this angelic being that was better than his brothers. If anything, he was actually insecure about his wings, whereas whilst Horus hit it well, he genuinely believed he was the first amongst equals. Sanguinius thus would work with Horus, the Lion, Guilliman, and his other brothers to shore up what he lacked in tactics, having more of a team leader approach to Warmaster as opposed to being the boss. Also, at this point in the Great Crusade, the opposition was weak as hell, so Sanguinius being, let's say, 20% less efficient or slower really wouldn't matter much. The Emperor just wanted his sons not to fuck up while he worked on the webway. They didn't actually really need to conquer anything else. Now chaos would still try to worm its way into the setting. Erebus was still a traitor, and Lorgar's fall happened without the intervention of Horus. After all, it was Guilliman that was present for the raising of Monarchia and the humiliation of the Wordbearers. So Sanguinius would still have to contend with the insidiousness of chaos. Now the fall of each Primarch to chaos in canon was uniquely tailored to them. If you try to make Perturabo pick up the penis-shaped sword that corrupted Fulgrim, he would call you weird and gay and ignore the sword. If you try to trick Mortarion into using sorcery to warn the Emperor of Chaos, Mortarion would shove his scythe so far up your ass it would come out of your mouth. So if Chaos was trying to corrupt Sanguinius to make him their Warmaster, which it definitely would try to do, it wouldn't do so by luring him to Davin and getting him cut with the Athame. It would have to be an entirely unique scheme with a completely different setup. No Davin, no Athame, no Interrex. I honestly believe it would just be Cygnus Prime 2, Electric Boogaloo. That was the closest Sanguinius ever came to falling to chaos, and it was a bloody good ruse as well. It brought out the red thirst and black rage within the sons of Sanguinius, making Sanguinius so devastated he was going to sacrifice his soul to the forces of hell in a naive attempt to save his sons. Sure, there would be no Horus to order Sanguinius to the Cygnus cluster, however Erebus could easily direct Sanguinius there, just like how he directed Horus to Davin. Now the outcome of the Cygnus Prime battle could go one of two ways. Either it would go exactly how it did in canon, which is pretty likely, the difference being that Erebus would be accused of being the traitor instead of Horus, making Sanguinius way less heartbroken and emotional, thus probably helping the overall outcome of the battle in favour of the Blood Angels. Or outcome 2, we follow the theory that no matter what, half of the Primarchs were fated to fall to chaos, including the Warmaster. Now this isn't 100% confirmed in canon, but there is a lot of implication, and whatever deal or trick the Emperor played with chaos to gain the knowledge and power to create the Primarchs may have doomed half of them to fall, with some even saying that the Emperor roughly knew which Primarchs would fall, or the ones he wanted to fall, including the Warmaster, explaining why he treated some sons like shit, like Angron and Conrad, whilst he was devastated when he lost Magnus, since Magnus was supposed to remain loyalist. So if the theory is true, then in this rendition, perhaps Meros isn't there to stop his Primarch from giving himself to chaos, and Sanguinius makes the plunge, becoming the Warmaster of Chaos and kicking off the Sanguinius heresy. Doesn't really roll off the tongue though, eh? This version of Sanguinius would not be a charismatic leader able to convince his brothers to join him through guile. He would be a half-demon abomination, at war with himself as parts of Sanguinius that still exist rebel against his new corrupted form. However, in this version, as half the Primarchs would have to fall, they would indeed still fall. Mostly the same as canon, as Angron, Lorgar, and Conrad were fucking cooked anyway. I honestly don't really know how Perturabo, Mortarion, Magnus, Alphyrus, or even Fulgrim would fall, as Horus used subtle charisma and manipulation to get them to join him, whereas Sanguinius would be this autistic flaming demon that would be screaming and shit. So no, I don't really rate that theory path. Instead, let's say it follows canon. Sanguinius wins Cygnus Prime, doesn't get corrupted, but now is painfully aware of chaos. Just because they are denied Sanguinius doesn't mean chaos won't try elsewhere. Horus still had his monstrous ego, and could even hold resentment for Sanguinius being chosen as Warmaster and could still be led to Davin and the Interrex, potentially meaning Horus could still fall in the same way, or perhaps he allows himself to die instead of joining chaos. Fulgrim would be stuck with the Layer Blade. Magnus had Zinch's fist up his ass and was always close to falling. Angron was going to rebel anyway, Lorgar was already gone, Conrad was already technically a traitor. There are a lot of seeds of heresy planted everywhere, so with that in mind, the most likely outcome is that less Primarchs fall and they don't end up with a strong leader, as even if Horus was one of the ones that did fall, he was not imbued with the authority of Warmaster, so the level-headed Primarchs like Perturabo and Mortarion likely would not have fallen to him. Chaos is huge into symbolism, it empowers them hard. Them elevating Horus, the Primarch of the Lunar Wolves, is so weak sauce compared to elevating Horus, Warmaster of the Imperium, first found and chosen of the Emperor. So whilst yes, the galaxy would still be in turmoil with Sanguinius in charge, Chaos would have to rear its head sporadically, disjointed traitor legions attacking different parts of the Imperium without one clear will to bring them together. You also need to remember that the heresy wasn't just about making half the traitor legions fall, it was about half the Titan legions, the Mechanicum, the Night Houses, the Navy, the Guard. Horus was inspirational and used his authority as Warmaster to bring these people to his side. With Sanguinius as Warmaster, who was arguably more inspirational, way less people would have turned traitor. Even if Horus ended up falling anyway, which is a big if, his lack of authority as Warmaster would mean the Mechanicum would also likely not support him, nor would many of the troops he would have had in canon. So the two outcomes really are Sanguinius becomes a fucking scary ass blood demon with zero riz, causing massive issues for the Imperium but overall significantly less than Horus did in canon, or Sanguinius remains pure and a few of his brothers fall to chaos, but without a defined leading will binding them, can be defeated one by one. There are other factors, such as the Webway project still potentially getting fucked up by Magnus as he tries to warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal if Horus still were to fall. So there are a lot of variables, and there is a lot of shit eating the Imperium would endure, but it's unlikely to get as bad as the Horus heresy itself. Horus falling to chaos was the perfect storm. There was no other Warmaster of Chaos who could have gotten as close to killing the Emperor as he did. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a Natty Plus sub. Code Majorkill for 20% off store-wide. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more alternative content. Join the Discord for more memes that I'll see you in the next one. Peace.